Welcome to this YouTube video. I'm Oskar Nygren and this is Imperfect Action. As you can see, I'm now standing in a different surrounding. I got some feedback from the last time and I'm switching it up. And you know, this is one of the things that happens when you start doing something, because you start figuring out, it's like, ooh, I want to try this thing. I want to try that thing. And instead of like thinking everything out from the beginning, this happens as we start going along. Because right now I'm saying that I want to make a video every day. And so I have to adapt to what those prerequisites are. So I wish you could see my setup because it looks ridiculous. But I don't know, that's some of the creativity around this. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about today. Yesterday we talked about perfection, imposter syndrome and all of these things, but I'm starting to really see that it's really rolling with whatever is happening in the moment. Of course it's nice to plan it, and it's so much easier for the listener if you do that, but it can also take away this aspect where you don't know what's going to happen and you're not clear about it, but you know that it's going to be the best of it also. Another thing that I want to take up is that the world is rooting for you. And what do I mean by that? Well, it means that as you start on this journey, the world will show you and line up certain things, and people will be commenting and coming with ideas and all of these things. And all of that makes it so much easier, so much enjoyable, and so it becomes a process rather than it's like, oh, I'm going after this outcome. It needs to be this way. But it really doesn't have to be. And in fact, probably the way it's supposed to be is the way it got to be. And that's okay. It's completely okay. And I also want to take a moment to thank everyone that subscribed. I got 9 more subscribers. Woohoo! From having 1. And I love that. It really tells me that this is something that I'm just going to keep doing, and I hope it inspires people. Also, what I want to say is, if you look, go to the end of this video, you will see the behind the scenes look. It's a pretty funny thing. But anyway. So let's get into today's subject. Today's subject is about imposter syndrome. And what does that mean? Imposter syndrome is basically how it sounds. That you think you're an imposter. And it's very easy that it feels that way when you're just standing in front of a camera and you know that you haven't it all figured out. You're not on top of the mountain, you know, you're not the guru. And for a long time in my life, I thought my voice didn't matter. And why? Well, basically because I haven't achieved that I think that other people have achieved. I don't know all of these and these things. It's like, oh, I can coach them. But wait, how can I coach them when I'm not really walking the talk? So I felt like an imposter. And that stopped me from taking imperfect action. It's like I've been thinking, I need to be healed, I need to be settled, these and these and these prerequisites needs to be there in order for this to be good. But it really doesn't have to be, you know? And one of the most powerful reframes that I got, maybe that I mentioned on the former video, but it doesn't matter. Repetition is the mother of all skills, right? Is that people have difficulty relating to the guru who sits there on top of the mountain meditating and just like you know, you have difficulty having an empathetic connection to that person. But the guy, you know, who's just starting out, but he has a vision, he has an intention, he wants to go somewhere, he has no clue how it's happening. It's so much easier to relate to someone who is in the position that you are. And that's what really clicked it inside of me. It's like, yeah, of course. I would get so much more inspired if a friend of mine did this instead of like me having someone who sits on a mountain and I'm like, I have no clue how we got to that mountain, right? I don't know the next step. I don't know all the millions of steps he took. Maybe he just sat in a monastery after being reincarnated 50 trillion times, and then he's like, you know what, I got life experience enough. So right now I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to process the shit out of it, and then I'm going to get up to the mountain. But no. It's more likely that the person that is just walking there, just tiny step ahead of you, you know, he might have found out something like yesterday, and he speaks to you today, and therefore he shows leadership, and that's it, you know. And from there, we just keep going. So leadership is really that, like, you're able to do something that someone else thinks of doing. Whatever it is, you know. It doesn't need to be this grand gesture. In fact, you know, the smaller the gesture, maybe the simpler it is, right? And then there is no imposter, because you're just a person who speaks to the other person, probably exactly at where that person is, right here, right now. That he gets your message, regardless if he comments, he likes, it doesn't matter, or subscribes, but he gets it, and that in itself unlocks something inside of him. And that unlocking is extremely precious, extremely important, extremely valuable. And as I said, you could have heard it yesterday. It really doesn't matter. You know, you're not an imposter. You're a human being who has a completely different life experience than somebody else. And that in itself is valuable, because you come and you add a perspective that someone else doesn't have. How amazing isn't that? And your perspective is exactly what the other person needs. But you know the kicker? They can't get that unless you step out and share what you know with the world. It will only happen that way. And yeah, you can think of, oh, I'm just going to meditate. I'm just going to send it out there. And that's part of it, absolutely. But for it to really kick off, for you to really have that impact that you want to have, you gotta get out there. You gotta be there. You know, you have to stand there in the front lines, right? Otherwise the soldier's like, no, I'm never gonna do that. Hey, someone else is just sending me. Like, there's no morals in that. It doesn't make people inspired. It doesn't make them as like, I'm gonna sacrifice my life. You know? One of my favorite movies is The Lord of the Rings. And the absolute favorite scene is when they're standing just at Minas Tirith, this city, you know, the white city. And Theoden rides and just get up the morals of all the other riders in the cavalry, right? And they're supposed to go towards the orcs. And he leads the charge, you know? The hero leads the charge. But it doesn't have to be a grand battle. You know, this small thing in the beginning is going to feel like a grand battle. But you just need to take that step, and the rest will follow. Wow. You know, I don't have any clue on what's going to happen when I'm standing here and what I'm really talking about. I'm not really sure what is the next word that is gonna come out of my mouth. I have no clue. I just know that it's gonna happen. And I'm setting intentions and I'm invoking before I do it, so I feel that I have people with me, that there's someone that's standing behind me, you know. It's like we're a whole gang. It's just like coming towards you. You can do that too. You know. Then you become this force of nature. Like, I'm really feeling that. It's like this force of nature. I'm standing here in the nature. Hey. Right? You just roll with it. It's like, as you do this, inspiration will come to you if you just let it go. It's like laughing at it. The humor, like the creativity comes out of the humor. Hey, or like Matt, another person that really inspired me. He says, down to clown. You know? It's a great saying. Down to clown. Why take it so goddamn serious? Doesn't have to be. Just being this way makes a world of difference. You know? Just standing out there, Like, yeah, you can have a script. You can plan it a little bit. Of course, it's good to do that. But in the end, what really comes across is how you feel where you're talking to the camera, how you feel when you're in this setting, how you can convey something, how someone truly feels what you're saying to them. That is real, that is not fake, it's just there, you know? You're not reading a list or anything, you're talking out a life experience, your life experience, what really, really matters. You know, screw the list. Do you. Okay? Do you. I feel so great standing here. And again, as I said, I'm going to show you the behind the scenes. But know this, there are no imposters, okay? Not even if a person is fake, because a person is always doing the best they can with what they got. So there's no reason to blame them, to belittle them, to push them away, or to shout at them. Because honestly, as a humanity, we're just learning how to walk, you know? And you don't really shame a child for learning how to walk. I don't think that's a really good idea, do you? Okay, guys, I love you. Peace, joy, and love to everybody and all of you. This has been a blessing. Thank you. Okay, so here we are behind the scenes. What is happening in Oscar's films? Well, he certainly has a team behind him. It's called the iPad and the photo stock. And yeah, so this is how it works. Simplicity, you know, a little bit of notes. And yeah, this is how you set things up for 1 million subscribers. Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe the setup will change over time. Who knows, right? Okay. But anyway, take care, guys.